Well, a hail and hearty good morning to you all. Welcome to the program this morning, and happy Sunday. It's Sunday morning. So I wish I had windows down here so we could let the morning light in on a Sunday. And this Sunday, it's not sunny outside, but it's bright and white. We had a dusting of snow, and that's about it. And so, but for mornings on Sundays, it would be nice to have that setting. So instead, we've kind of got this little artificial sun right down here in the subheader. So hopefully that's sunny enough for the morning. And so good morning to everyone. Happy Sunday, blah, 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 blah. And everybody who's here, welcome. And keep in mind, if you're new here, that Sunday morning, It's Sunday, is an informal version of the show. I just do it so we can chat a little bit on Sunday mornings. And at the beginning of the week, it feels like the weekend. It's still the weekend, but it's the week beginning. It's the first day of the week. And if you're not off toddling off to church or mass or synagogue would have been yesterday, I think, and so on, well, we offer this in the morning on Sunday. And it's just informal. Nothing big, fancy, and juicy about Sunday mornings. Just calm, hopefully. And we get into some good conversation. So welcome. If you've not been here before, everybody else who's here, I see over in the chat room, Field Guy is here. Good to see you, Field Guy. But of course, the very first one here was Roger Rabbit this morning. How you doing, Roger? How's Carly? How is Kinsey? Hope everything's going well in your little corner of the world. I feel like I'm sitting really low this morning. You know why that is? I've got a... whatever I did with it. There it is. Got a little... hello. I hate when I do that. I roll in my chair, and I hook the cord of my microphone on the arm if I'm not careful. And I just pulled the whole soundboard off without disconnecting anything. Now that's talent. But I'm just looking for my cushion. I've got this cushion that because of the setup, I can't get my chair any higher. And now I feel like I'm sitting in my radio chair. So I can make adjustments there. There we go. All right. I feel right. I don't feel low to the ground. So hope you have your coffee. And we'll just take it from here. But I'll keep going, Sandra. Welcome to the program. And Steph, good to see you. You said, how you doing, Scotty? I go, how you doing, Steph? Steph Cuervo Queen. So glad to be back. I haven't been around for a bit, says Roger Rabbit. Yeah, I noticed that. You haven't been around for a while. So I'm glad that you're here this morning. Who else we got over in the chat room? We got Carlene. Good morning, Carlene. I hope you're doing better. I never really caught on everything that had happened while you were in the hospital last week and all of that. I missed something along the way there, but I'm glad that looks like you're home. So that's good. So whenever you go to the hospital and then you get home and you stay home and you're okay, that's when it's good. And who else we got over here so far this morning? Viking Off-Roading, Michael is here. And we've got, I said, Steph and Field Guy, and Randall Flagg is here this morning. Good to see you, Randall. And yada, 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 yada. There's everybody so far. So if you're out there and you want to come into the chat room, you are all welcome in the chat room this morning. My face looks tired this morning. I saw some photos that were taken last night at, I was at a wake for a friend, a good friend from the festival. I would say, you know how we have those categories of friends? Tom was a good friend, but he was not a friend that I hung out with very much. We didn't see a lot of each other. He mostly past comments on social media. He lives about 2 hours from here in Mankato, Minnesota. He teaches theater. I don't know if it's theater and scenic. I didn't know exactly what about it, but um, he was a character out at the festival for many years, and he had a stroke and passed away um, in the month of December. And so there was a kind of a shock to us all. And my good friend Carr, who I've talked about on this show before, a good friend of mine. He used to be the creative director at the festival, and he was a good friend of Tom's. And rather than go to the big main wake down in Mankato, a couple of people, this group of circle of friends, Carr and his wife Marion and Kevin, who is a potter out at um, the festival, and he's got a shop that's his main living. He throws clay and does pottery and all kinds of amazing stuff. Kevin Caulfield, and I have to find a link for him sometime in the next few minutes and throw it up for you. You can see the kind of work he does. But it was at his studio. We had a little wake for Tom. We had about, I suppose, 15 to 20 people there last night at the height of it. It started at 3 in the afternoon, and we were all done by 9. Matter of fact, I went to meet someone at one of the local Irish pubs afterwards, and just to prolong the talking with somebody I hadn't seen in a long time. And it was nice. You know, those kinds of gatherings that the purpose of it is sad. The purpose of it is heartbreaking that we lost a friend, but it was so wonderful to see people. If you look over at my Facebook page, you'll see a couple of pictures from last night. So it was fun to see those people. And so I really enjoyed it. And I got home. I had a little too much to drink, but it was funny. By the time it was time to leave, I felt like I had a Guinness at the Irish pub, and but I felt absolutely like I do right now. So I must hold my liquor well for not drinking that much these days. Got a feed patch, says Morgan Snow. Good to see you. Steph said, Scotty, I got a surprise gift sent to me from Lehman's Bakery from Mountain, Wisconsin. Have you heard of this place? I have not heard of Lehman's Bakery. Where in Wisconsin is it? And I should look that up. Lehmanns. Where are they located? Lehman's Bakery, Wisconsin. Let's see where this place is. Lehman's Bakery. It's on Durand Avenue. They're closed right now. Stewartville. No, Sturtevant. Sturt. Sturt. Vant. V-A-N-T. Sturtevant, Wisconsin. I have no idea where that is. Let's take a look. Here's the directions. Oh, it's way over on the east side of Wisconsin because I see a big lake, Kenosha. So it's right on, let's see, where is that exactly? I see it's Lake Michigan over there. I'm panning. Okay, it's south of Milwaukee. Milwaukee is, of course, right on Lake Michigan. And you go south far enough, a couple hours south, you hit Chicago. Not even a couple hours from Milwaukee. But Lehman's Bakery is right in the middle of all that along the lake. So that's about, I'd say from here, you drive down to Madison from here, the capital, and the University of Madison in Wisconsin, you're about 4 hours from my house. So that's about 5 hours away to Lehman's Bakery. So who sent you something from Lehman's Bakery, or they just choose you randomly and send you some cupcakes? So it's king cake season. says field guy. I don't know what that is. So if you're ever out there, says Steph, might as well give it a try. Yeah, might as well. So king cake for Mardi Gras. I don't know enough about Mardi Gras. I know Fat Tuesday is about all I could tell you about Mardi Gras. And throw me some beads. So, So Raini could not come along to the wake yesterday. She was still not feeling good from this stuff. And now for me, this hasn't really, the sick hasn't really worn me down at all. It's just there. So my voice isn't back yet, but I don't feel bad. Rainy didn't feel good. Everybody missed her. It would have been nice to have her come along. So, I see I got Field Guy out here. Field Guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I still got the coughs.
Oh, yeah, you're just starting to talk for the day, I see.
Oh, no, I did an hour stream right before you came on. I did 4.5 hours last night. It's about 2:30 in the morning.
Nice.
I'm trying to hit that.
What do you talk about? For all the time you're on, what do you talk about?
It varies. Mostly I start off with the Saints and then
Saints.
Whatever my co-host talks about, coins or I don't know. Sometimes politics gets in there. It just depends.
Sure.
I think last night we ended up the conversation. We were talking about something, and it got to the Jared Subway incident with like, I don't remember how it got there, but it's just we were talking about weird shit, and then somebody started talking about vaping, so I don't know. Some weird stuff.
Vaping?
Somebody was smoking on somebody that I'd never seen before came on my panel and they were vaping. And I don't know nothing about vaping.
I went to this gathering of friends last night from the festival and nobody smokes anymore. It's kind of funny. We all used to have a cigarette now and then and when we'd hang out, we'd have a smoke. And last night, nobody had a smoke. So, which is kind of funny. I didn't even think about that till you mentioned that. So
somebody asked me where Phil Guy's been hiding at. Somebody asked me where Phil Guy had been hiding at. Nobody hadn't saw him in a while.
He's right there, hiding behind his Saints logo.
Hiding, no hiding.
Are you just not presentable this morning? Or?
Oh
You've
no!
been on the radio for 4.5 hours already.
Yeah. Oh, I just don't have the camera on. I'll turn it on in a minute. I have to get my Mardi Gras beads.
It's okay.
No. Somebody said
I'll get my one single bead.
None of that.
Roger Rabbit says, damn, is everyone sick? Kinsey and I caught something visiting my dad. We both had sore throats, mucus. We were worn down.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
I had this
what
for
we
2
had
months.
Here, Roger. We and the kids got it. I don't know who got it first, but then I got it from Rainy, and it's just been my throat. It's treated us all a little differently. I think maybe the first day or so, it had me feeling like I'm just going to go back to bed.
Oh yeah,
and we weren't worried about it being COVID. I don't think anybody even worries about that anymore. Isn't that kind of weird? Hey, we got JP too.
Yeah.
JP is in.
Hello.
Hello.
JP's hiding behind that luscious locks of hair there. He's got over there with that going on there.
That's Morgan because Snow's been sick with that stuff for a few days now, and it's kind of going around. And
I've had a cough for 2.5 months.
Yeah, that's what it does.
Won't go away.
It just lingers.
They said it was the 100-day flu.
Yeah, something like that. That's probably what we've got. It's affected my throat, so I can't sing at all right now.
That's how I started. I went to work and I was fine. I woke up one morning, I had a sore throat. I couldn't talk for 3 days, but I still went to work because they wasn't going to pay me sitting home. They were like, "Oh, you shouldn't come to work." Well, you're not going to pay me. I need money. I said, "I don't need to talk to work,
and I need to spread these germs."
Yeah. So, hey, no work, no eat.
If I'm sick, the rest of you are all.
That's how I got sick. The bastards are coughing on me.
Good, you're negative, Morgan Snow. That's good to hear. It's a new strain. It's a new strain, so Biden can hide in during the
called President Fucked Hard in his campaign re-election. Get everybody sick.
Yeah.
I don't know,
So
but
they
did
don't
anybody
vote.
see their video?
So I think they're hoping something
video?
devastating, and maybe there's something up there.
They're the Biden administration's 2024, the first video they put out for 2024.
Yes.
Good Lord.
I don't pay attention to that crap.
I saw it.
I'd rather watch The Wall.
Well,
you know
I
what?
watch it to see what they're doing.
That's
And,
exactly right. That's
I don't watch
exactly
it
right.
enjoy it at all. I just want to be a little bit informed about what
I
they're
still
doing.
swear. I swear it's like that SNL skit. And I've said this before. You know the SNL skit where Phil Hartman was playing Reagan, and you know how Reagan is, and then everybody would leave, and all of a sudden he was evil dictator.
Yes. And he's actually an evil dictator. Yeah,
I could not remember that one, but
it could be how Biden is. He plays stupid behind the sidelines, and realistically, he's like, "Okay, let's set the nukes up here, and here."
Yeah. What was fun about that? It showed him playing Reagan. And they go, well, Mr. President, the Cub Scouts of America are here to see you today. Oh, well, bring them in, Sandy. And all these little kids come in. Well, hello, children. Would you like a jelly bean from my desk? And he plays the affable old man president. Then the scouts leave, and he goes, all right, now let's talk about kicking ass over there in wherever. And he pulls down the maps and the charts. Back to work. Let's nuke them.
I thought he reminded me of the guy who played
Hot
Shots or whatever. The guy who played the president, where he's like cleaning his ears out with a handkerchief or whatever, always walking in his shit.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he reminds me of. It's like
that was Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah, but that's what he always reminded me of. Just kind of, he's like, oh, they're shooting at me.
What? Pudding?
What?
Pudding? Yeah, so I saw a couple of things. Biden had his first big campaign speech the other day.
Oh, geez, I missed it. Thank goodness.
Was this the one that was in Valley Forge?
Is the sad thing is there are still a group of people in America that are going to believe everything he says.
Oh yeah.
I certainly hope not. It's like, wow. If you listen to him, Mr. Unifier there, he didn't have anything to say about what they were going to do on that side of the aisle to make us better.
And you know what's really funny? Okay, have you
midgets in a car?
You know who Philip K. Dick is, right?
Yes.
Android's dream of electric sheep, Blade Runner, basically. And they did a series on his short stories, Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. It's on Netflix. Have you watched any of it?
I haven't watched that one. The only thing I watched of his was the alternative reality one where Nazis won the war in Japan. And
Man in the High Castle?
Man in the High Castle.
Was that Philip K. Dick?
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay, I didn't realize that. So, interesting. Go on Netflix, pull up Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. Dude, the parallels of the things going on today that are reflected in the shows based off of his short stories.
Yeah.
What? There's one
I
called,
have seen that. Because Raini watches that. So
yeah, there's one episode. It might be the last episode in the miniseries, but it's KAO, Kill All Others. I think is what it's called, but like it goes into a whole thing about, well, in the story, the premise is that basically the North American continent has become a mega nation.
Right.
And so it's the mega nation of Mexuscan.
Oh, nice.
But it goes into this whole thing about how, we're a democratic society, and we've narrowed it down from 52 people to one candidate. And You know,
because we're democratic.
right? Yeah, exactly. And it
Make your choice.
it goes into just there's so many things in there when you watch it. You're just like, there's entirely too many parallels.
I put up Claudette's comment. She said, I saw a thing that Trump was purposely put there to turn the American people against each other. Yeah, you're going to see. Sorry, Claudette, you're going to see bullshit like that. That's
I wonder who put that post up.
Yeah, propaganda.
That kind
it's
of
all
propaganda that's out there that is meant to try to stir people up.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things with with stuff like that people don't realize, or maybe they're starting to. Some of them do. I don't know. I still think there's a lot of people out there who just don't get it.
They don't. A lot of people just don't pay attention. So.
But the level of disinformation and the level of comment making that comes from bots on social media, that is coming from the majority of that stuff does come out of Russia. Like Russia does a whole hell of a lot of that.
Sure.
But China does it. Other countries do it too.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Messing with messing with social media and that's how they mess with our elections.
Yes.
There's not somebody hacking a voting machine.
Uh-huh.
It's far more effective to go in and basically play.
We do the same thing. We do the same thing.
So. Influence an election.
Yes.
Yeah. What was the movie Wagging the Dog, where they actually went in and showed how they did that?
Yeah.
But it wasn't Trump's administration that made it legal for the government to basically openly to lie to people and use propaganda. It was the administration before him. They said, oh, yeah, you can openly use propaganda in the media to sway the sheeple in the way that you want them to go.
I've long felt that in political ads, and it's one of the things that I got really frustrated with politics very early on, actually, probably a lot earlier than most people in my age range typically did. And it was during some sort of election season. I can't remember if it was presidential, senatorial, whatever.
Yeah.
But sitting there watching this, and it's like one ad after the other kind of thing. Yeah, there's something for cold medicine, Viagra, Chevy, whatever, scattered in between them. But every commercial break was a political commercial of some sort, it seemed, that particular election year. And all of them were those ads where it's like, I'm Bob Smith and you should run for me because, John, Smith over there voted against schools and voted against children and voted against old people. And doesn't care about old people or children, and hates whatever, I don't know, hates people who are left-handed, whatever the shtick is, right? And it's always that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, and I distinctly remember watching all this stuff. And literally that year on the ballots, I wrote in Snoopy and the Red Baron.
Yeah.
For anything, because I'm just like, I can't do this. All you do is sling in mud. There's nothing to back up anything. Who's to say that because of all the pork barrel bill type crap we do, it's not like, oh yeah, you're right. I did vote down a bill, to give $12 billion to education for children, because it said everybody in there had to get, swastikas tattooed on our asses, and we, had to kill kittens, like whatever, right? Obviously, my stupid tongue in cheek, commentary with those things, but it's to illustrate the ridiculousness of the fact that they spin this stuff, and I hate that so bad, and that's where we need to get laws done. If you're going to say something negative about your opponent, you have to do everything that backs up. You have to give all the information that actually backs up that statement. And you're going to put it in your commercial. So you're going to have to spend $12 billion on a single commercial because nobody's going to be able to afford 5 minutes of advertising time, and the whatever. So it's like, do it that way. You want to regulate some of this stuff out? Man, that would be great. Yeah. I don't even see how that's It becomes borderline libel and slander.
But you see how their fact checkers work, like during the Hillary Trump debate, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah. But here's my thought on that. If both candidates are so bad, what does that say for us as a society that we cannot pick anybody no better than these two people who are basically, gobs of shit on the wall? And George Carlin said it best. Is this the best we have to offer to run for president or Congress? And it goes back to it should not be a career. They should be a part-time government employee at best. 2 to 4 years.
Well, here's why I would disagree with the part-time stance, right? And I actually think this about my own current city's government, because it's a part-time mayor and it's part-time city council. There is not enough time in the day or in the work week to do a job like that in a city that's in the stages where it's at and dealing with the challenges out there today that we face, and especially if you're trying to grow your city, to be able to thoroughly look into everything, research the issues, get yourself educated and spun up on stuff, which is why we had a Chinese company trying to set up shop 12 miles from our base out here. Because these guys don't know. They see the dollar signs and they don't know, and they don't have enough time to sit there and actually thoroughly vet things. It's a combination of all of it.
Agreed.
So, making something part-time is woefully dangerous.
I'm talking about the federal part of it being part-time, because used to the federal part only got called in during times of war, negotiation, like that, and it goes back to what Scotty covered 6 months ago now. Time flies, Scotty. The state constitution.
But that's at that point though. That's at that point in history. Things now, because of progress, because of development, because of the crap that we've gotten ourselves into and things like that, it's much more of a full-time gig. And you need that amount of time to actually do due diligence on issues and topics. Don't get me wrong. I don't disagree at all with limited government. I think probably the better way to do it, jury duty.
Oh yeah, but you know what? You don't need somebody like Joe Biden who says in Congress. And
I got called in for Senate duty.
Yeah,
for 50 years.
I can't believe his party's letting him run again.
That they did what?
That they let him run again.
Yeah. They didn't have much choice.
I don't see how they can justify it. I mean, you can't
so
tell
they
me
have to. They have to spin he's good for the country.
Mm-hmm.
They need to just come out and say, you're not really voting for Joe Biden. He will be our mouthpiece, but you're voting for the left. You're voting for
the party versus the person.
Right, the party. But they're not honest enough to say that.
No.
They're trying to make you believe that Joe Biden is the best thing since sliced bread.
They're probably not honest enough with themselves to say that.
That's it.
No, if they'd honestly come out and say, "Hey, Barack Obama is secretly pulling the strings back here, but we got to keep this warm body on IV fluid and whatever medication they help him up on."
I don't think that Barack Obama's pulling the strings.
I don't think he is. You want to talk like Hillary and her clan, Hillary and Pelosi, and a bunch of
I don't even think it's Hillary.
Women running the country.
No, the reason I said Obama.
Hey, you guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
The reason I said Obama is he actually come out and he said, "Do you think I have to be in the White House to run the country and make decisions that affect us worldwide?" He come out and said that.
Did he say that post-election or post his terms or during his terms?
He said that right before it was time to vote for Biden. It was during that time frame.
Well,
and I saw him at the White House. He's sitting over there. They're walking around Grandpa Joe like he's shit his pants, which he probably had. And he's walking over to shake hands, and they're just by him, and had Barack and Michelle there, and they're like, "Oh, they still treated him like he was the one with the power. He was the one that's wanting to cater to." So,
well, that's because there's reference for.
Sorry, they got to make a good. They got to make a good showing. The one running the Democratic Party, sitting high in his little mansion with his millions, with his young wife who he thinks is in love with him, and his name happens to be Soros.
Oh, George. I always think George of the Jungle.
I mean, yeah,
he's
the one running the Democratic Party. You guaranteed ain't nothing goes by him without his say so. He'd be president if he thought he could run, but he can't because he's an immigrant.
Yeah. Oh wait. Oh, look at this. Oh Lord. Yeah. This thing here. He heard a female's voice. He's like, yeah. Hello.
Hi, Poseidon. Hi, Poseidon. He says, I know her voice.
Real quick. Yep.
Hi, Poseidon. Hi, Handsome.
That's a good boy. Yeah.
Hi, Handsome boy. Look at the camera, Poseidon. There you go. Hi, Poseidon.
Yeah, I've been up moving around this morning, and I'm still sleepy.
No.
All right, now go on. Now you've been loved on. Go on.
He says, I've been made of. I'm happy now.
Yep. He's always the first one. Well, Mila, if you wake her up, she should like, hey, what do you want? I'm sleeping here. I'm working. But now he always comes, and he's a good boy. He's like, hey, rub my head, pat my belly. He's just pretty chill. And now he come in here and got rubbed on. Now he's going to the couch. And but I was going to remind everybody: Wicked Women, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock Central. 5. Yep. 10 o'clock UK time. And I think
pretty soon you'll be able to advertise yours.
Oh yeah. Get JP's move out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moves are not fun. Thank you.
Oh,
no, they are not.
Not one that's
been there, done that. The longest move we made, and woof. But that's okay. We love where we are. The weather's conducive. Other than I said, ended up in the emergency and ended up admitted to the hospital, but. Didn't matter where I was. When you have COPD, when you can't breathe, you end up in a hospital. Period.
Yeah. Yep.
But now I get to tote around this craziness for a while. But it's getting better. But yeah, this cold everybody's talking about, I think that's what set it off.
Well, it'll certainly impact it. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'd gone in to lay down. And I couldn't stop coughing, and they said, I'd gone into stage 1 respiratory failure, and I'm like, oh great, I didn't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about timing, JP the Hat Man. Amazon.
Oh hey, you got your black cap or your razor cap.
Yeah, Amazon come through today. All right.
Did you get snow last night, Michael?
No, got a lot of frost and a lot of cold weather.
No. Oh, you keep it up there, please.
We are creeping into the. Why does my face hurt when I step outside?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
You
North Dakota.
You're in North Dakota. Okay. Well, no. Well, we just moved down from Vermont, and we're at 48 right now.
I'm telling you, the Eastern Seaboard, though, up there in that whole New England area. When you get up that into those lines of latitude and latitude, yes, it gets stupid cold. I was at Fort Drum for a while.
Oh yeah,
it gets stupid cold. It's entirely different.
It is.
Here is entirely even if it's the same temperature.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is beyond the wind. There's something else that just makes it.
Me and JP had that talk about that.
It's actually a brutal cold up in. Like I said, I was born and raised in Vermont. Spent many winters there. They said when it gets 20 and 30 below, it feels like 50 below when you step outside the door.
There's a reason they do cold weather training for all the Army at Fort Drum. They will send people from Alaska to Fort Drum for cold weather training.
My sister said, what was it yesterday? Yesterday morning, it was 3 degrees, and she said it was brutal. But the worst part is they didn't have any snow, which is the ground cover, which keeps keeps it from feeling so cold. So 3 degrees, she said, was like,
Nope,
you didn't want to go outside.
Yeah.
Me and JP was talking about warm places to go. I was thinking Arizona, but I don't even know. Even Arizona in the desert, the desert gets cold, and people are like,
I've
Yep.
heard.
Well, it's usually a
I've
greater
heard of people
temperature tip too.
going to Arizona, and they said that for anybody with any breathing issues, it's really no better.
What is it? We had bear suits brought in because, like you said, the temperature difference. You'd go from like 100 degrees to like 40 degrees,
Wow.
and your body would be like, "What the fuck?" And next thing you know, you see people, which I had more meat on my bones then. But it's like, why am I so damn cold for? And what it is, it's just from, like you said, that
The differential is
Yeah,
the spread is so great. Going from a $1.20 or a $1.30 in the shade to even to 90 or
It's
80
cold.
in the dark, you're like, like, oh God. There's a chill out here. Weird.
But that happens on California, out on the coast a lot too. When we was in Santa Cruz, it was like 70, 80 degrees during the day.
Mhm.
Then when it dropped down to like 50 degrees at night, just that cold breeze coming off of the Pacific Ocean was just like, holy shit. But not too far from where JP is now. I had went from Fort Pope, Louisiana, which is not too far from Bill Guy, to Devil's Lake, North Dakota, within a span of a week. And I remember when the lady opened the plane door in Jamestown, North Dakota, I asked her, I said, what the fuck? Who opened her freezer? And it was just that cold. I got off the airplane in shorts. I'm like, holy hell, his ice BBs. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I have landed in the wrong part of the country.
Nah. Well, that's like New England when it drops. It's brutal. It's not.
I got lucky when I moved up here back in 2017. I got to gradually get used to the cold because I went from like mid-Missouri, Fort Leonard Wood area, in October, which was very pleasant for the most part.
Yeah.
Making that drive, I slowly acclimated a little bit as I was, because the temperature got a little bit lower and a little bit lower and a little bit lower the further I went.
I got a friend who just went to Missouri as a travel nurse. He's like, oh, he's got a toy hall, which is like a one-season camper. And I told him, I said, no, Missouri gets cold. And he's like, oh, no. They told me it was nice here. I said, well, they lied. And now he's figured out. Unless you've been there and had boots on the ground, you have no idea how cold Missouri gets in January.
Missouri will get cold, but it's not like it's not like here, or it's not like New England, or really anywhere up on the Canadian border that doesn't have a sea breeze coming in.
Yeah, we were probably 2 hours from the.
Oh, it ain't cold, eh?
We hit one place in Eastport, Maine. It was on the coast, and let me tell you, I went with my ex-husband, delivered a piece of granite. The truck gelled up, and let me tell you, it was 20 below zero. It felt like 100 below zero.
Yeah.
I hope you're moving somewhere it's warmer.
What is it for absolute zero or something? I forget how cold it has to be for absolute zero, but I have been a few places where I actually thought we was getting close.
Yeah.
It was, but absolute zeros. That's the bad part. It's like,
I don't know, but it's gotten down into, not yet, but it's gotten down into the negative 30s and 40s, and the sustained, and then down into the negative 60s with wind chill.
What is? I forget how cold it is, but when you step out, it can actually freeze your eyeball in your face, and because you can't even make tears no more. I forget what the premise of that is, but it's like holy wow.
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing: I was never an Eskimo in a prior life. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were, and you're just tired of the cold. Spiritual.
Oh, well,
That's it. Yeah, I know. You know, there was a joke that I told JP the other day. I said, when I retire from the Army, there's 3 things I'd never be if I had any choice. That's cold, wet, and hungry.
Yeah.
You know, I can deal with the heat. The older I get, the heat actually feels good on my old bones and joints and back.
I actually had
cold,
that conversation with my dad the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I don't know. It's just getting too cold for me. These winters are just getting brutal. You know, I've done this for 6 years now.
Yeah.
It'll be a full 6 years by the time I leave. And it's, he's like, well, you're also getting older. And I don't know about you, but I can't deal with the cold like I used to. And I'm like, no, you're right. I know what you mean.
No, I remember sitting in like a lean-to, like the 3-bay or the 3-sided shed or whatever they had out there. They'd have us crawling, you know, and like I said, this is like February. We'd be crawling through culverts, just water.
Oh.
Then they come out and you sit in like the damn 3-sided barn, as they called it. They say, "Oh, go sit in the wind shed," and there was no shedding the wind. It was, and everybody's huddled up in a pile. You look like a bunch of wet, frozen kittens that was trying to huddle together. And it's like, wow.
Yeah, no, that's not for me. Like I said, when I know when I graduated, back then we all used to take the service test just to get out of class for the day. And I actually scored really high, and they wanted me to go in, and I'm like, yeah, no, I should have. I regret it now, but no, I don't like the cold. The worst part is not the cold; it's just the stain. When you're in New England and it's 30 below zero for 2-3 weeks on end, it's like you don't feel like there's an end to it.
Yeah.
And then
we're effectively,
then it gets in your bones, and it's like, okay, you just can't get warm.
Yeah, we're like effectively halfway through summer at this point, or winter at this point.
There in North Dakota.
You know, yeah. We're basically halfway through winter, but you know, because of how everything gets and how everything is up here with, you know, and jet stream and various other flows of air and stuff like that, but you know, they've seen snow out. I know people who've seen snow happen like as late as May.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like, what?
we had
snow in April here, which was odd.
A couple of years ago, we had snow. It was in was it June or July in Vermont?
June.
A couple of years ago, we actually had snow in June.
Yep.
And some older people I know, they, including my grandmother, years and years ago, it was July. Their wells froze. It was so cold. I'm like, yeah, okay. The planet's warming up? I don't think so.
Well,
actually, that's another whole bowl of wax. But you know, we're still in an ice age. If you look at the real climate things,
if you look at the scale of the timeline and things like that, yeah, we're at the end of an ice age, I think.
Sure, I leave for 10 minutes, and you guys are talking about the ice age.
Yeah. So, Scotty, I wanted to give you an update. Yes, I ended up in the emergency room. I'd come home. I'd gone. It was getting ready to go to bed. I could not catch my breath. I told my husband, okay, we got to go somewhere because I knew exactly what was going on. My COPD had kicked in.
Oh, boy.
By the time I got to the hospital, they rushed me in, threw me on oxygen. I'd gone into stage, they'd done the blood work, so I was already in stage 1 respiratory failure. So now I get to live with, let's wear your oxygen at home too. And I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah. So you're doing okay?
I'm doing okay. I think this cold that everybody's got actually set it off. I knew I had COPD, but you know, we're taking it one day at a time. I'm out of work for a couple of weeks. Looking forward to going back to work. I got a backpack oxygen concentrator, so I can purposely go back to work.
Right on.
And you know, hey, we'll take it one day at a time. Like I said, it's I'm going to go down a fighting, but let me tell you, it's pretty scary. Like I said, I was coughing so bad that I couldn't breathe, and it was like, okay, now we know that. What's going on. It happened back in July, actually July 4th when I was back home. Same thing. And they treated me and sent me home. And the doctor here, the lung doctor, who we're now going to start seeing, said they should have put you on oxygen back then. But for whatever reason they chose not to. And I was just looking at my blood work from my tests, and it's like, yeah, same thing happened back then. So I don't know. Everybody's
Not
like, oh
breathing is
you
no
had-
fun.
oh, yeah.
I'll get into sometimes when you get those flus or those coughs, and I'll go into this coughing jag.
Yeah, and you can't stop.
You're like, oh my God, no wonder old people. I mean, sorry, old people. No offense, old people, but all you octogenarians and 90arians, whatever you call them, you can see how pneumonia. What's that?
Nonagenarians.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You can see how like pneumonia will kill an older person because what do you get into a coughing jag and you can't catch your breath? You know, blow up your chest, and I've done that.
It literally feels like an elephant is sitting on your chest.
Yeah.
I mean, just the facts. But no, I'm healing. It took me a few days even after I got home to even start feeling somewhat normal.
Well, I'm sure that's how you get there. Let's see. It's not bad. What is that? I'm not a bad man. I'm just painted that way. Let's see. I'm just a good man who gets off on wearing my Speedos and looking at myself in the mirror taking selfies. I can't read all that.
I'm just a good man who got off on the wrong exit and is trying like hell to get back on the highway.
Oh, there you go. Yep. By the way, Randall Flagg says, funny how people break out shorts in the spring in the 40s, but in the fall in the 40s, they're freezing.
Yeah,
it's the temperature differential.
It's not the same. It's there's something about it. Like I said yesterday was I went out. No, I didn't go out yesterday. Day before I went out, and just that wind. It was it was comfortable, but that breeze was like, oh my God, it made it feel literally kind of cold.
Yeah, You're just going from one extreme to the other.
Yeah,
and that's why 40 degrees after you've been through the summer. Sucks, but then 40 degrees after you've been through the winter, it's like, oh man, short sleeves.
It's pretty glorious. I'm putting on my flip flops and my shorts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we still haven't broke out our winter coats down here, but everywhere we go, people look at us like I may be in a like a little sweatshirt type thing,
right.
Or a t-shirt, and people are looking at me like I got four heads, and I'm thinking, yeah, next winter will be different. But
I think that was the coffee symbol from Mike there.
But yeah, with this cold, yes, this cough that everybody said they've got, I don't know what it is. They tested me for everything and anything, and they're like, we have no clue what, just some kind of viral cold going around, and it is brutal. And if you have breathing issues, beware, because it's gonna kick your hindquarters.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a fever of over 100 for almost a week.
Jesus. That's not good.
Yeah, it stayed under 101, so they were good. But I told them, my temperature normally runs 97.6. I don't run a normal 98.6. So when it gets to be 100 for me, that's high.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing fine.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I run a little cold-blooded.
Little cold, and they were awesome.
My naked wife just came down to hug me. That's all. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they were awesome. I had some guy and this old woman. He was sitting in his car. We wanted to go into Sam's so I could do my grocery shopping.
Bedroom's right there.
I got out of the car with my oxygen, and this guy's laying on his horn. He's parked directly across the parking lot from me. Point to the sign, and I'm like, what part of the handicap sticker can't you see in my freaking car? And he threw
my stinking car
because he couldn't see my handicap placard. I'm like, I just got out of the car with freaking oxygen on, you moron.
Yeah.
And
well,
I went over by the door waiting for my husband. I said, I don't know what they were up to, but they're obviously up to no good.
Be careful what you ask for, Steph.
I stood there because I said, it's like somebody like that to actually go do damage to your car. And when they drove by me, here's these 80-some-odd-year-old people flip me off. I'm like, what the frig is your problem? Go look at the front nose of my car and tell me what's hanging there. 8
minutes.
Yeah.
Morgan.
Yeah. I I can certainly understand the frustration when I running a little behind in the morning, so I don't get a chance to make myself something for breakfast. I'll slip into the Starbucks that's literally on my way to work, and I'll typically I'd like to run inside just because I like the personal interaction. But
well, you're one of those people.
There must be.
My
There,
name is
gotta
JP,
talk
and
and
I
all
need my
that.
white chocolate
Yeah.
mocha, whatever.
no, there's probably a cute girl that works there.
You know what? That is typically that is the stereotypical woman's response. There's
I
got to be
believe
a
you,
cute
Steph.
gal in there. You know what? Maybe they're just cool people, and I go in there frequently enough that they remember my
maybe.
name.
So shut up,
Oh,
everybody.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm just picking. I'm just.
I know.
Picking.
I know.
Rocky and I had that when we did radio together.
Yeah.
It was our big thing was, hashtag shut up, SHUDDUP. And Rocky had, people would comment and go, yeah, well, you know what I got to say to you? You can just shut up.
Right.
Yep.
But
So,
there are people that sit there and they park in the handicap space
Oh,
right there at the door just so they
Yeah.
can run inside and grab and they think
Grab
to
their
themselves, "Oh, I'm just running in because I did an online order." And it's like, yeah, but some older person or some handicapped person now
Yep.
has to go walk across,
right.
the parking lot because
you.
think you're entitled and the world revolves around you.
I would understand, but I mean, we had to actually park there waiting for a few minutes for the car that we had moved out of the spot. So I mean, he was nose to nose with our car, so he knew the placard was in the car.
I had a
and it wasn't like he wasn't already parked. So yes, you're on oxygen. You already parked. You're loading your car.
car.
You got a problem. Oh well, not my problem. And I'm like, oh, and when they flipped me off, I waved. Hope you have a nice night. Whatever.
I had a handicap tag for one very short period of my life. And it was after I'd had my heart surgery, and then they did my hip. And so I was a little slow going for a little bit of time. But the hip surgery nowadays, it's amazing. I was up and walking the same day.
Mhm.
But I told him, my doc, I said, about a week later, I said, Doc, I'm almost in tears here. I said, I'm trying to walk in here, and I'm walking in and I'm stopping halfway in. I said, when did I have this done? 7 years ago? I said, I'm a 56, 57-year-old man, and I'm stopped with tears in my eyes because I can't walk from my car to the door without pain. I said, this is stupid. And because he asked, how you feeling? I go, well, let me tell you how I'm feeling. And he said, I got something for you here. And he fills out a handicap thing you hang from the rearview mirror,
Yeah, that's
we were like, there were times where I'm at home. My wife says, I got to go shopping. Hey, can I borrow your sticker? Yeah. We're bad people that way. There was probably some handicapped person now that had to go park in the Purple Heart spot instead of the handicap spot. But you know what Raini really wanted at the time when she was pregnant? She said, why don't they have any spots for pregnant moms?
Yeah.
Some places do have that.
Some places they do now.
Some places do.
And now they've started that.
Yeah.
Maybe they heard her, but
the expected mother in parking. And the only reason I still shop at Lowe's is because they have a veteran parking. They have 4 spots for veterans. Then on Veterans Day or Memorial Day, they'll block one of them off with the chairs, and they'll put like the empty cup. They'll decorate it for the ones who didn't come home.
Yeah.
And I have told the people at Home Depot, because I carry a lot of Milwaukee tools and what I do day to day, and I told them, I said, I love your store. I said, I'm not bringing up somebody else's brand, but if you get your head out of your ass and put veterans parking and show just a little bit of appreciation.
Veterans parking is nice.
Yeah.
And they got 4 spots at any Lowe's. They're right up towards the front of the door, and it says veterans parking. And I think they're in the expecting mother is over.
Yeah.
And I will say for the record, we never abused the handicap sticker.
Yeah. I'm with Roger. I hate using it, but there are times, like I said, when I went out, I was home
Oh,
I just got home from the hospital. I was exhausted. There was no way I was walking across Sam's Park.
I will tell you, I never hated using it. I loved using that sticker.
No,
I just didn't always like the reason I had to. I didn't like having to use one or having to be closer to the door. Or I got into the habit of we go to the grocery store and the kids all want to push the cart. And I'm like, no, Dad needs the walker. I mean the cart.
Yep.
Let Dad push the cart. And but I'm over it now. So
I mean, I'm with Roger. Like I said, I hate using it, but like I said, there are times that there's no flipping way. If there's a spot open, you darn right I'm going to use it if I need it.
Oh hell yeah!
If I could walk, not a problem. I don't mind walking a few spots. It's actually good. I just got to turn the oxygen on, but just walking around the store we were there maybe an hour, and it was like
you know what drives me nuts? It's watching people drive around the parking lot for 3, 4, 5 times longer than it would take to park a few spots back and walk in. And they've driven around the parking lot looking for that one open spot. And then they rush when they see one to get up there, and they're driving too fast through the parking lot.
Yeah.
They drive around so they don't have to. And they're not usually, I've found they're not usually infirmed looking people. So guys looking for a close spot.
Yeah.
And and then we're the same ones that'll fight you if you get to the spot. But didn't you see I've been driving for that one for 30 minutes? That's my spot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Well, that night we were waiting, and this guy pulled up in the truck, and we'd had our blinker on. The woman was getting ready to back out. He nudged it up, and I said, "Go ahead, make my day. You take that spot." I said, "We're probably gonna have worse."
Did you know what I figured out? If you put strobe lights on the front and back of your vehicle and carry around some road cones, you can park right on the sidewalk. You can go right in. I like that contract.
Sure.
It don't matter. You can park anywhere as long as you put out some road cones and have some blinking lights.
I got my road cones and my blinking lights.
That sounds an awful lot like samurai tactics. Let me get a clipboard, a piece of paper, and a pen.
Yes.
There's a funny story. Said the guy went and took a 3-hour nap. He just grabbed a piece of paper and run into the broom closet. Yeah. Hey, the Army taught me a lot of things. And like I see him sporting Nick's merch. It's like, the reason after you get a certain rank, you let them guys get away with it because you was once there yourself and you learned to hide behind the shield.
The sham shield.
The
E4 mafia.
And it don't exist. If it did, we'd all go into hiding right now. But it says I need this, and this, and I don't care how it happens. Okay, then you cover for him.
That's right.
It's like oh no, plausible deniability. Yeah, I learned that real quick. They said, but I'm not an NCO. I didn't know that was against the reg.
There you go.
Sorry.
Hey, don't go into a coughing jag now.
Oh no!
Resuscitate you.
I'm going to have this stupid cough probably.
Clear.
Just when you add the viral cold on top of it, I was telling GP I had a fever of over 100 for almost a week, and it just like I said, I'm autoimmune because of my rheumatoid. It's like, are you flipping kidding me? Everything that comes down the pike, I'm going to get. That's like apparently so.
Carlene, you moved south for a reason. Moonshine will fix a viral infection.
Oh, I'll remember.
Well, there
that.
you go.
Do you have a still?
We got some antiviral right here.
Hold that thought. I got something.
No, you showed me the other day.
Sorry, field guy. Hey, by the way, last night we had a wake, as I started talking about, for it wasn't an official wake. It was the unofficial for friends of our friend who passed away from Festival. A fabulous entertainer. Amazing. Fabulous. I should be careful with that word because that always sounds like fabulous has a connotation. It's like fabulous. No, he wasn't fabulous. He was amazing. Entertainer, artist, creative, and responsible for a hell of a lot of stuff out at the festival. And he passed away. He went by the stage name of Nostradamus. and he played this magician who was disheveled, and he had like Groucho eyebrows he'd put on, and a big hat, like a Robin Hood hat, but with a big pheasant feather that was like 8 feet long and floated behind him. Not pheasant, peacock feather. And but he did, as my friend Carr put it last night, he did shitty magic tricks, and he knew it. It was for the sake of I'm just doing shitty magic tricks, and he made great fun with it, and he integrated with all the creators, and he created stuff behind the scenes. So he was pretty amazing guy, and he was out by a stroke. Took him in late November, early December. And he was in his mid-70s by now. He'd been a permanent fixture out there for 35 years or more. And it was sad that there's a political issue that's a little attached to this. My friend Carr is the guy that was falsely accused of rape out there. It happened during all the Kavanaugh trials was when it started. The whole Me Too movement, and there was a whole group there was a cult of women out at the festival that were making accusations. The ringleader of that was somebody that didn't like my friend Carr, and without getting into any details, just suffice it to say, use your imagination and what you know about human nature. And this person pushed this thing as far as she could, got him removed. The festival didn't believe it, but they had to for politics' sake, and so he was removed. But what did this accusation do? The accusation, he lost all his publishing contracts, he lost all his voiceover contracts. He basically stripped him down to nothing, and he had never been convicted of a crime. He never did it. I've known this man for close to 30 years. He did not do this.
No.
I knew he and his wife for all this time. The wife was somebody I was madly in love with before I knew it was his wife. That was fun. I used to at festival, as Royal Guard, I would walk by, the booth as she worked in one of the booths, and this beautiful woman. And every day I would bow to her and I'd bring her a rose. And this was back 27 years ago. And then I find out she's married to Carr, who had this big high profile role out there. Great street entertainer. And he became the creative director of the festival. He was also a member of what you would call like the Minnesota, not intelligentsia, that connotes military almost, but the intellectuals. He was on par with Garrison Keillor, but he was not liberal as Garrison Keillor. He was a writer, and he made himself very well to do, and very good people. And then he was accused of this, and they didn't lose everything, but they came damn close. And he did. It took over 4 years, and he did win his case. He was totally exonerated, which was the best day in many years. But he doesn't darken the doors of the place anymore, of course. And the festival said, we believe you're innocent, but we have to do this political thing. Some people got hundreds of thousands of dollars. The cult girls that started this thing up. People I know, the woman is somebody I actually hung out with him. It's a person that hung out with him and his wife for years ago. And they had a falling out, and she started this thing, and it was nuts. You know how word of mouth stuff goes. So all that to say this. So Carr put on his own wake for Tom last night. But Tom, in supporting Carr and all of this in that 4 years, then they started targeting Tom. And the festival dropped Tom.
Jeez.
And it was like a big think of McCarthyism. It had that feel, so-and-so's a communist, so he's now blacklisted. And for Tom, he didn't fall into despair or anything, but this was a very creative, very happy man that suddenly in his 70s, is finding out that he can't do what he's done for 35 years and got his greatest enjoyment in life out of it. But so we had the wake last night, and here, this is Carr and me last night. Now, mind you, this is after we weren't like drinking. We're gonna go drinking in honor of Tom. Let's have another drink. It wasn't drinking, it was drinking. We were sophisticated drinking last night. But this is after a couple of drinks last night. There's a Carr and me, and then of course I had a few pictures in this series of pictures being taken, but there is Sarah and Marion. Marion in the pink sweater is Carr's wife, and Sarah is somebody that she's a dear friend. She's married, has been for a long time, and but I've known her for 25 years out of the festival, and so she is somebody. She was there last night. She's the one on the left in the white shirt. And so it was so good. How can you go someplace it's supposed to be a place of grieving? You grieve for your friend, but we all talked about him. Despite the circumstances being, the topic being one of grief, it was a wonderful night. It was an amazing time meeting up with old friends. And I think this picture was taken after everybody started to leave. You know, we started at 3 in the afternoon. And by 8, you know, most of the 20 people who came to this thing were gone. And it was just the few of us left. It was at the studio of our friend Kevin Caulfield, who is a potter by trade. He had this great, luxurious studio here. I love it. And
it's a shame that it takes something like that for people to stay in contact with each other.
I know. Well, we've been in contact, like Raini and Carr and Marion and I have gone out. We were just out a couple of months ago now, but it doesn't seem that long ago. We're all so busy when you go, hey, we just got out. You know, it doesn't seem like that long ago because we're so busy with other things.
Yeah.
So we're gonna.
Yeah, life makes
Yeah.
Well, guys, I gotta pop off before I start another attack. But I wanted to.
Good to have you in.
See you guys tonight on.
See you, Carlene.
Yep.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah.
Have a good one.
Right on.
And it's about communication tonight. So if you ever wonder why men and women communicate differently, that's what she told me, that it was going to be about. Women are from Venus and men are from Mars or something.
Who said that?
Wendy.
Wendy. Yeah.
Yeah, Wendy.
Well, that was that old book. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah.
And you know, that's just the way we are. We think differently. It's like I've said many times, we're just wired differently. We're wired to be, you know, all this wanting to blend the sexes and all of that is a bunch of bullshit. Because we're different from the get-go. We're all different.
Yeah, and what is it? All kinds of chemical makeup, even. The
chemical makeup different. We're wired differently. Our physiology is different. And I mean, it's just the way it is. And anybody who wants to deny that and try to make it something that it isn't and blend it is denying biology, frankly. So yeah, we all think different. So I think Wendy will have an interesting topic. We'll see what's going on this afternoon. Maybe I hope I could come and join, but we'll see what's happening.
Yeah, 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Scotty's time.
Is Wendy out there? Did she tell you to say that, but can't come into the show?
No.
Tell her to get her butt in here.
No, I know what my duties are. My duties are to promote.
I know what my duties are. Hey, Wendy, you should come on the show if you're listening. By the way, here's another picture from last night. This is Marion. This is Carr's wife, and a good friend for so many years. And so Raini and I went out with them, like I said, a few weeks ago, and had a great time. And it's funny, for all the years I'd known them, they had never met Raini. That's how infrequently we had been able to get together. And Carr and I'd been out several times to get once again, not to go drinking, but for wizardly hobnobbing banter over a sophisticated single malt Highland Scotch or Trois. And so we got together quite a bit, but it was Marion and Carr and I and Raini had never gotten together. So we got Marion and Raini finally got to interact when we went out, which was very cool. And anyway, that was last night. And one more from last night. This is Sarah. And she, like I said, she's somebody I've known for a long time. We got it involved way back in 2004. We were a bit involved. Now, let me ask you guys about this. And Michael, I don't know what you'd be like in this situation. Jason, I think I have a pretty good handle on how I think you'd handle this kind of situation. Probably similar to how I did. She, and Sarah has no bones talking about this, but way back then, 20 years ago, she and her husband were having severe problems. He had stepped out on her, let's put it that way. And so in that interim, she was a patron at the festival. She wasn't a character out there. She was just somebody that came with her friends, and we met out there. I was in character, and she was just a somebody in attendance, and we flirted and all of that. But we started hanging out a little bit. This is the woman I refer to, if you've ever heard me talk to her, as the pedicurist, because that's what she does for a living. And so we got together and we hung out a bit and all this. But here's where, Jason, I think you'll find affinity with this. And I mean, no offense by that, Michael, because I just know how Jason thinks on this kind of thing. We were kind of in the midst of kind of being in love with each other, but she was very torn about this stuff with her husband. And she's like, yes, he had an affair. Yes. She goes, I don't know if I should give him another chance or not. And of course, we're romantically involved. And I'm like, well, Sarah, I said, I'll tell you this. I said, if it's in your heart to pursue something with your husband, forgive him and move on. I said, you need to. I said, you would regret it the rest of your life if you didn't try. Yeah. And so there was one day she said to me, she said, would you be willing to talk to my husband?
Oh, man.
And I said, this is where you go, well, no, I kind of want you for myself, inside, but you go, you say, sure, I'll talk to him. And he called me up and he said, I know this is awkward for you. He said, and he was very humble. And he's a cool guy, but he seemed very humble. And he was like, he says, I love my wife. I made a huge mistake. It was stupid. And he says, what can I do to win her back? And I said, brother, that's the path you're on right now. You got to win her back. Man, I said, this is the uphill climb for you. And I said, here's what I do. I do this and this and this. And I said, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be like shebang. I got this magic thing and poof, there it is. I've won her back. I said, it could take you 6 months. It could take a year. I said, but if you start showing her the things you would show her if you loved her, give her a chance to see you do that. Yeah. You know what? They're still together today. This is 20 years ago. This happened. And as far as I can tell, they're happy. And, but I can say this with all honesty, and probably impunity. My wife knows all about the fact that Sarah and I and all of that. I love Sarah dearly, and she loves me dearly, which is nice. It's nice to have that person, but we haven't seen each other face to face for 5 years or more, if that. And so we see each other online every now and then and talk. But so it was just wonderful seeing her last night. Now, here's an added wrinkle to this. And I only brought up Jason the way I thought you'd react, is because I see you as being the kind of, I have you pegged in my mind as a man who is ultimately honorable and noble, that you strive for a certain nobility in life that other people don't strive for. We can be good things and try to accomplish good things. It's like I said when I wrote the book Tam O'Hare, The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare.
Mhm.
It's animals and it's all that, but Tam O'Hare is this noble, honorable. He's nobility in the book, but it's this honorable character. And I said, Tam O'Hare is. I've written into him all the things I wish I were, and that I strive to be, even though I fail miserably. And so I see you as that kind of person. So I would see you as being somebody who would take your own needs or your wants or your desires, your passions, and you'd be willing to set those aside if you could say, like in this situation, I took all that stuff and I set it aside. And I'm not bragging. This is for the purpose of talking. I put all that stuff I felt aside because I saw her still wanting to love her husband still wanting to love her. And who the hell am I to not do what I can to help that? Now, the interesting thing, about 10 years ago now, about midway through this, I think it was about 10 years ago, he messaged me on Facebook, private message. And he says, Scotty, he says, I'm going to tell you something. He says, I've never said this to you. Now I don't remember if it was a phone call or if it was a text. It started with a text, though. He said, I think he called me. And he said, I've never said this to you. He says, I've never thanked you for saving my marriage. And he led off by saying, I know you love my wife. He says, I know you still love my wife. And I know you're married and love your wife, but you still have a love for my wife. And she loves you. And he says, none of that matters. What matters is that you helped save our marriage. And, and I don't say that to vaunt myself or puff myself up and say, look what I did. That's not it. It's that there's this thing where in life, sometimes this is the stuff that stories are made of. And if you're a writer or a storyteller, you might experience things like that. And you go, if I talk about this, I sound like I'm bragging. If I wrote a story about this, it'd be different. We've seen stories like this before. But I remember hanging up the phone with him and going, wow. This is a guy that just acknowledged, I know you love my wife. And he says, I know you love your wife. And he says, but I know you have a love for my wife. You did 10 years ago, when we talked. And he said, I just never took the opportunity to step out and thank you for what you told me to do. And he says, and yada, yada. And you're just like, oh, Jesus. And it was, so yeah, I was really surprised by that. But this is the closeness I had with this woman. And, Raini doesn't have anything to worry about her. She knows we have a friendship and there's nothing there, I think, that hurts Raini at all or makes her uncomfortable.
That's something where you're tremendously lucky.
Yes.
And guys, anybody out there listening,
Oh yeah.
Having someone who has the trust and confidence in you and also has enough security in themselves and their situation to understand that you have people in your life that you're going to care about, but that your partner cares about, but and you're secure in the fact that you don't have to worry about anything, that it's not a threat.
Yes.
And you don't view everything as a threat, because that can be kind of hard to find sometimes.
It can be.
And,
it's extremely hard to find.
It's because there are people in my life that, you know what, I will always have a deep caring for them. And that's one of those things where it's like, non-familial love, so romantic love, friendship love, things like that, they can kind of morph one into the other.
Yes.
Loving in terms of friendship can morph into romantic love.
Yes.
Romantic love.
Oh, it can very easily.
Yes, very easily. Romantic love can morph into the love of friendship and, brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever.
Right.
I think it's a little bit more of an awkwardness to get to that point.
Sure.
And it takes a lot of maturity and clarity of mind on the parts of both people. But, I have people in my life like that. And I've been on the receiving end of the, people you shouldn't be talking to.
Right.
And it's like,
no, you shouldn't be talking to that person.
What do you mean I shouldn't be talking to this person?
Yeah.
What kind of threat do they pose to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew them before I ever knew you existed. We dated for all of 2 months and then we became friends after that.
Right.
Where's the threat? There's another ADHD person like myself whose brain works in a similar manner, so we can communicate and we can understand each other. That's not a romantic connection. That's not
right.
It's like, and I have male friends that it's like that, where we can just have those conversations and everything goes all 12 different ways, but we're still all on the same sheet of music just because our brains work similarly. And it's people who are very insecure with themselves that don't recognize the points of security in a relationship and in a partner.
Right.
And key in on things that to them are considered traumas now because of whatever they've been through.
Right.
And, so that's to have something like that and to be friends with, the husband.
Yeah.
That's
he and I haven't gone and hung out and had drinks together or anything, but we're friendly. And again, once again, I only bring this up as to demonstrate that, and of course somebody's out there's going to listen to that and go, "Oh, you're just bragging about yourself." I'm not. It's the incident. I've separated myself out from it to look back in, and say, the feeling you get, and I'll be honest, there's a feeling all through the whole thing of patting yourself on the back and kicking yourself in the ass at the same time. It's like, shut up. Don't talk to him. Don't, get what you want for yourself. And of course, if I'd done that, maybe Raini and I would never have met.
Well, but see, and that's one of those things though, where it's, if you actually love somebody, and this is going to sound cliche,
I know.
I'm going to use here, but it's that whole thing of, if you truly love them, set them free, and if they return, it was meant to be, right?
Right.
But there's a certain amount of truth in that. And if you truly love somebody, all that you really truly worry about is them being happy and loved and cared for, and that they feel fulfilled in life.
Right.
And, sometimes, especially if you kind of have a little bit more of the dreamer or imaginative side to you, creative side to you, there, or the hopeless romantic side to you, or things like that, there's always like the little wistful wisp kind of thoughts. But then, it goes back to, no, you know what? They're happy. And that makes me happy. Yeah. And I have, I have people like that in my life. And it's one of those things where, if you really love them, you look at them and you see that they're happy, and that's all that matters to you. Right. Whether it's with you or with somebody else.
At the time, I would have preferred the happiness would have been with me, but that was at the time. You're in the middle of something. Yeah. And so, the ability to say, I need to look at this through different eyes, through a different perspective. And
what's that old saying? To be or not to be, and,
that's
and you
the
never
question.
know.
Wait, what was it in Klingon? Cut top, cup, black, whatever. If you remember that movie, but so yeah.
Yes, the undiscovered country.
The undiscovered country. That's it.
You've never heard it until you've heard it in the original Klingon.
That's right, Shakespeare, unless you've heard him in the original Klingon. Yes.
Speaking of
that was a
weapons,
great line, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Speaking of bladed weapons,
who was that
borrow
actor
that
playing
sword
him?
tonight, JP.
Say again.
I said, speaking of bladed weapons, we might need to borrow one of them swords so we can knight you with all your.
Yeah.
Well, nice.
Yeah. And I'll be honest again. We can be honest about ourselves. Sometimes we'll sit on here, we'll talk about our erectile dysfunction, or we'll talk about our foibles and our failures. But as soon as you talk about something that is not a foible or a failure, but a success or something that really changed you, then everybody's like, "Oh, you're just bragging."
No.
That's,
and that's people get like that, I think, who don't have the ability to do inward thought,
right,
reflection, or they have a limited capacity for it. But it's like
you got to be able to look and talk about yourself in the third person.
Well, and the other thing too is sometimes, and especially with me, right, being an ADHD kid, I don't talk about things because I'm trying to brag about myself. It's things that I'm passionate about, and I'm trying to share that with you because I'm wanting to make a connection and I'm excited.
Yes.
I have to explain this whole story to make sure you have all the context.
Right.
And people are just like, you're talking too much. This can't be true, or you're just trying to whatever.
But that's talking about, for me, this is how I talk about my feelings. This is how I talk about my passions.
Yeah.
This is how I talk about the inside stuff. And you try to put it in a way that's easy for people to listen to, yet you can express. Here, I got one more picture to show you. Take a look good and hard at the picture that's up there right now. That's Sarah and me last night. This is a picture of us, the only picture of us together from 20 years. This is 2004. So when this picture was taken. And I look kind of gay in this because I got a little ringlet crown on for the festival, but boom. So that's us back in 2004. And so I want you to note something. This is about a year. This is the year Raini and I really met. It was the next year we started dating. I want you to see how similar they look. This was Sarah, and all know what Raini looks like. That astounded me the other day. I was looking at old pictures and I saw this and I went, God, she looks like Raini there. And so I think that's kind of interesting. But
what I'm trying to say is, Scotty, you got a type.
and my type was always blondes. I was always blonde. Every woman I'd ever been with was blonde until Raini.
Well, maybe it's one of those things. If you want to start looking at the metaphysical, that the universe is taking you in a direction. There's a similarity there. You're looking for something. Your spirit is looking for something. Your soul is looking for something, and then once it finally gets to, and now it's not. And you get to a point where you're looking at things and you're like, man, Raini looks a lot like her. She looks like a lot like Raini. You are seeing Raini.
Right. Yeah. I see Raini.
Things. Yeah. And that's I think that's one of those things that's an excellent could be an excellent indicator of where someone's mind's at.
Yeah.
You know.
And by the way, I'm looking at these. I'm looking at my eyes in all these pictures. I was either really tired last night or I was really drunk. Or I don't think I was drunk. I had a lot to drink.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking, but I look like I'm half asleep in some of those.
He said he had a shitload.
Anyway, so I just thought I'd show you this. That's kind of fun. This was an afterthought after showing you last night's pictures. But so, yeah, there you go. That's me playing a royal prince at the festival at the time.
Were you playing a royal prince, or were you playing a royal pain in someone's ass?
I was a royal pain in someone's ass, the king's ass. The guy who had been the royal prince. This was his leather doublet that he had made as prince for years before, and he always wore the little ringlet crown here. Well, then the old king of almost 30 years out there had retired, and my friend stepped up and they hired him to be the king. Role. And which he's been doing now since 2004.
Okay.
And so as a joke one year, that was this year, 2004, a couple of weekends of the fest, I came out dressed as him with the ringlet crown. And I did my best mockery of him, like this. And it was all in mockery. And we did public shows and on the street and stuff. And I said I was Prince Philip come back from treatment. And so that's how we played it. And that's what this was all from. So I was dressed like him. Well, Philip, you don't look the same. Well, I've come back from 2 years of treatment, and
whatever that entails.
Whatever that entailed, yes. So anyway, blah 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 blah.
I am going to completely shift gears.
Please do.
And I'm nerding about this, and that's why.
Yeah.
And
you, Ryan Gale.
And I know at least a couple people appreciate it. I may or may not have ordered the Rick Deckard tie, shirt, and coat.
Hey, 1 second. Steph, bada, fucking boom. There you go.
Boom, there you go.
That one big time. Go ahead. You got let's see it.
Oh, it hasn't. The tie.
It's not.
The shirt and the jacket haven't showed up yet. That it's
Chad Sanders.
I'm very much looking forward to walking into work.
And the massage, says Randall Flagg. Sorry, I'm just responding to people as you're talking. Just ignore me.
I'm very much looking forward to walking into work and seeing who recognizes things, because the new job that I'm going to, it's still a Air Force organization, but it's mostly made up of civilians, and it's a comms thing and outfit, and so they're all very, very nerdy, which is kind of like right up my alley. And
so describe what this thing is that you ordered, because it's not hitting a familiarity button in my brain.
So Blade Runner.
Oh, yes.
Rick Deckard, right? Yeah.
Rick Deckard. And I'm thinking, who's Rick Deckard? Deckard. If you'd have just said Deckard.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if there's anybody, like, I walk in and somebody just like would be like, so tell me, have you retired a human by accident?
Yes.
Like, I love goofy little things like that.
Yes.
See people who catch references to things or see influences and stuff.
Yes.
And all of that. So I'm really hoping that, like, I walk into work one day and somebody's like, yeah, retire a human by accident.
Yes.
No.
You retired a human by accident.
But you have to admit, in your line of work, that is a risk.
See, now I don't have quotes from Blade Runner down in my head, to be honest. So now you got the shirt and tie, huh?
Yeah, there's a couple of shirts that he wears. I got one of them. I found a company that makes it. And the tie looks dead on for it. So it's like, oh, this is gonna be fun. And it's just a nerdy thing. It's like wearing Indiana Jones stuff into work. It's
that's not nerdy.
No, it's not nerdy at all.
No, that's not nerdy.
No, it's expressive.
Yeah, expressive. It's real. That's real. So.
Well, who's your favorite Klingon? That's what you need to ask if you're going to be.
I've got favorite Klingons, but my favorite has to be Christopher Plummer.
Oh yeah, Tang.
Yep.
Yeah. No, he was great. I mean, everybody loves Michael Dorn as Worf. I mean, but
you have to.
You have to. And my love of Worf really, really developed in DS9. Because that's where you start seeing the character really come into himself, and develop. But Worf aside, I mean, Christopher Lloyd playing the Klingon in
he was good.
He was great. But I tell you, I gotta love, and maybe it's just the nostalgia of things, but Core and Kang.
Yes.
And they have that you see them once, maybe twice in the original series.
Yes, and that's it. I loved
but then you see them in DS9
with Michael Sarrazin, is it, who played Kang? Was that him?
May have been
his name? Where they had the Klingons on the ship and they're all fighting with swords because there's this entity that thrives off of driving the hatred and the battling and all of that, and they have to conquer it. And he and Kirk together conquer the thing, and he was a classic Klingon.
Right.
In the
that goes back to the Trials and Tribulations episode of DS9.
Yes.
Where they're sitting there in the bar and they're like, "Oh, there's Klingons," and he's like, "Those are Klingons? What's going?" They don't look, and he's like, "We do not speak about it."
We do not speak of the heads they're talking.
Right.
But, the best war is at the end of Picard, where he's sitting there like an old man and he's got his sword down between his feet and he starts snoring. He just nods off.
He's napping.
Oh, yeah.
He's napping.
That was a great scene. He falls asleep on the bridge.
Right.
That was great.
Yeah.
But I like Worf. I like Worf as the pacifist in that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a pacifist, but he's still dangerous.
The warrior pacifist. Well, which that goes a lot to speak to Jordan Peterson's work, and how he's talked about how, look, people say that they're people, but real men, who are peaceful are dangerous.
Yes.
And because they choose
that path.
They choose that path. And
they choose to.
Yeah. And that's I've always
part of the Army when they said that we're now the quiet professional, because they had got away from all of the brush-dressed whatever. And I remember they came out one day and told us we are very quiet professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we can't handle ourselves, but you do not need to show your whole hand all the time.
Yeah.
And they wanted you to be able to dress up in your dress uniform and go out and be a respectable member of society. But when it come time to put on your BDUs, your ACUs, your DCUs, and you don't handle
your
MBAs
or your PVBs or your MBWs.
And your bump hat.
When I go on my MBWs, I don't do it
with
having to show off. I do it because that's the way I feel.
That's the thing with having an all volunteer army versus one that's augmented by draftees.
Yes.
And when you have an all volunteer army, you're choosing the profession of arms, and there is a certain level of professionalism and quiet capability that you should strive for. And it is something to strive for in terms of, with the quiet professionals, there's two groups in the Army that are referred to as the quiet professionals. You've got Special Forces and you have the Warrant Officer Corps. And, how do I put this?
How do you put it?
I know that's
he's a deep thought. The whole thing.
It's not deep thought, and my carburetor's icing is what's going on. I'm not getting enough manifold heat.
But while you're thinking of that, I remember the day that I graduated basic training. Our senior drill come over, and he shook all of our hands for like the first time, and in his hand he had a coin, and he looked you straight in the eye. I would say man to man, but there's also females there.
Yeah,
but he looked
soldier
at
to soldier.
Soldier to soldier, and he said, "Welcome to the Brotherhood of Arms," and that's what really hits home. This is how you make your living. You make your living, with a butt of a weapon to your shoulder.
Yeah,
and the muzzle end downrange.
By the way, Steph says, I so could hang out with a girls' night with Raini. We could create chaos. Or have a proper time.
Yeah, a proper time.
I would love to see you and Raini hanging out. That'd be I don't think I'd have a worry or a care in the world. I just want to make sure you were home before dawn, and in one piece.
See, she says create chaos, and my brain immediately goes to
The Joker. I'm an engine of chaos.
Oh my God, I just had it on the Gary Owen. It was a brand of whiskey. It was preferred by Custer, but there was a song.
Well, they played Gary Owen when they'd conduct their raids on Indian villages.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, that was a different one.
Oh wait, that's a different one. Gary Owen is.
For Gary Owen and glory.
Yep.
Oh, Rick Decker.
I have no voice. My voice is cracking when I try to hold a tune.
Oh, I got something funny for JP.
Drink down ale and pay the reckoning on the nail. No man for debt shall go to jail. For Gary Owen and glory.
That's it. They
Had a
played
lieutenant
that on
one
the
time.
bugles when they would. Now, of course, they did it pretty glorious fashion, but when they were raiding Indian villages, they would blurt that out on
all kinds of cavalry songs and stuff like that. You know, would be played, but it was. I hear that, and my brain immediately goes to the lyrics for Gary Owen.
By the way, I've got your shirt and tie up on the picture.
Well, it's not that shirt. It's a different shirt, but it's
that figures.
It's that same tie and the same jacket.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll see if anybody asks if I've retired any replicants.
Have you retired any replicants? Somebody would have to be really tuned in.
Yeah.
I would recognize that though.
It'd be like, why is this familiar?
If you were dressed like that, I'd go, wait a minute, I know what that is. So.
Oh, you're talking about Custer. I had a lieutenant one time. He told me, he said, "You don't understand, damn it. I graduated from, West Point."
West Point?
Yeah, I said, "Well, fuck me, sir. So did Custer." And how the fuck did that turn out?
Now I want to watch the John Wayne movie. Well, it's going to be one of the many John Ford classics that he made with John Wayne.
Of course, it's always fun watching the old Ronald Reagan and Errol Flynn Santa Fe Trail movies, where Flynn played Custer and Reagan played who was he? He was another famous general of the time. I can't remember the characters they played, but Errol Flynn played Custer, and it was their their academy days up into the. It didn't have to do with Custer's Last Stand or anything, but they played those characters, and of course that's back before, when you're talking the late 30s, early 40s when they're making those movies. Yeah, that's back before we had a really. Custer has taken on kind of a negative view in recent decades, with all that we know about why things happened the way they happened and why he did what he did, and the things that he did. Now, it was very interesting. There was a series, I think it was a mini series that they condensed into a movie, but it was a mini series called Son of the Morning Star with Gary, not Oldman. It's a name like that. You've seen him. He's an actor. He was in, wasn't he in the American version of, no, not The Office. He was some show like that, but you've seen him in a lot of things. And he played Custer in that movie. Can't think of his name. Somebody look it up. Who played Custer in Son of the Morning Star? But it gave a very sympathetic view of who Custer was, and that he was actually somebody that was a big supporter of Native America. And I don't know how they got that out of some of the actions he committed. But that he felt he was in the right or something like that. And that when he was killed at the Little Bighorn, that there was honor bestowed on him. And that's why they didn't mutilate his body or something like that. And
Gary Coleman.
Gary Coleman?
Was it Gary Coleman that played him?
Oh, Gary Cole.
C-O-L-E. I've seen his face in my head. I just couldn't get his name.
But you know what got me about the whole Custer? He could have took 2 Gatling guns with him, and he said, "Oh, we won't need them."
Yeah,
and that could have made
you talk about some military miscalculations there. From
Well,
that
and
point
there was a lot of there were a lot of flaws.
Oh yeah,
with Custer. And the other thing that is interesting, and all, Hollywood not understanding or Hollywood looking for, making the big bucks or having a blockbuster, always plays into things.
Yeah.
There for a long time I've said if there was one thing that I wish I could do is I wish I could start a legit military advising, company for movies. Because I watch a lot of stuff and it's like you look in the credits and there may be something, military advisors. And I'm like, well, clearly none of the writers and none of the production staff paid attention to a damn thing they said,
right,
or bothered to engage them on a damn thing they said. But, the one thing I always found really interesting once I learned about it with Custer and with the Battle of Little Bighorn is that, aside from the fact that he divided his forces like an idiot, what most people don't realize is or they're becoming more familiar with now, though, is that
here's something I got to go to.
It was it wasn't this giant, big, glorious battle like the movies portray. It was literally a running battle. And the federal forces were like in retreat.
Yeah.
And they had a whole thing with I think it's called like Battlefield Investigators or something like that, or Battlefield Investigations.
I saw that one.
Battlefield 360, something like that. One of those shows did a thing on Battle of Little Bighorn, and they go to the epicenter of the battle, and then they start metal detecting and looking, and they're like, this whole thing is basically a retrograde movement from the point of contact with the Lakota and the other tribes, and it ends at a creek, and they can sit there and they can go through, because of the evidence they were able to dig up along the way following what they were finding. You could actually see, okay, we have a large volume and concentration of personnel and fire, because we're finding the shell casings, we're finding all this stuff, here's this concentration of equipment and buckles, buttons, etc., that have all fallen off and rotted off the uniforms and things like that. But it starts just meandering away, and what they find dwindles and dwindles and dwindles down till it's like, yeah, we're pretty sure the last shots of this battle happened over by this tree on the other side of this creek.
Yeah, when he's looking for cover. Yeah, cover and concealment is
well, and there was none. And that's one of those things I was really, so one of the unfortunate things of taking this job and leaving the outfit that I'm with right now is that the current commander for this outfit is big time history buff, and he's actually a graduate of the Army War College, even though he's Air Force. Yeah. And he is taking a whole bunch of the leadership from the unit, senior leadership, mid-level leadership, senior NCOs and mid-level NCOs and whatnot, to Gettysburg in the May timeframe to go do the Gettysburg battlefield tour. And you don't. One of the things that I was actually talking to him about trying to do when he first came on board and we first sat down was that I would love to start taking these Air Force guys on Army style staff rides to locations, because when you see the various challenges of your sister branch that they're facing, because let's face it, the Air Force does a lot of offensive stuff, but they do a lot of support stuff too, and everything that they do in an offensive not everything, but a lot of what they do in an offensive sense is at the behest of the ground forces. And so you don't, because you're removed from it, you may have an intellectual understanding, but you don't have that visceral grasp of everything. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to go out to the greasy grass, to Little Bighorn. And because the terrain is undulating, It's very hilly. It's vast and it's flat, but it's rolling,
Yeah.
and so that's how you have 2,000 some odd natives just on the other side of a hill down in Defilade.
Yeah.
And you're running around, you don't even know. You're like, man, there ain't nobody out here. You're camped up here. They're just the next hill over, and you don't have a clue. And
I've actually
that's
seen
why.
the staff ride to Gettysburg, and I remember we had a captain that wanted everybody to like run or whatever. You want to talk about a bunch of captains and lieutenants out of breath trying to do the Gettysburg charge?
Oh, like charging up the hill at Little Bighorn?
Yeah.
Or trying to cross like Pickett's charge, cross the field of Pickett's charge. The people, I don't think, get just how intense that is. I mean, you're damn near out of breath by the time you get there, and you're wearing a wool uniform in the middle of July, and you're carrying like a 10-pound rifle, and your cartridge boxes, and your bayonet, and your canteens,
little knapsack. I got a phone call yesterday from a kid that worked for me, and he had gotten in trouble, and now he's up next to the battlefield in Newmarket, Virginia.
Okay.
And he told me, he said, Michael, he said, every day I go by that, because he's in like a diversion program. He said, every time I drive by that battlefield, he said, I remember you were one of the few guys. He told me, he said, hey, I will take my money and spend for you to go and see history. And it's called the Battle of Lost Shoes. And it's the only time.
Yes, Ryan, they are. And directors need to take a step back, and they need to humble themselves.
Yeah.
And the only true military advisor was the guy who did We Was Soldiers, because he went over Colonel Hal Moore.
Ryan, if you're there, call in. I want to talk about your book.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going, Michael.
And but he that there's stories of him walking over. He's like, no, there's more piss holes. Need more bomb craters.
Here's a link in the chat room specifically for Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan, if you're there, call in. If you're still sitting out there.
But if you haven't saw the Battle of Lost, or the field, it's called the
the Field of the Lost Shoes.
Yeah, and it goes back Virginia Intermont College, which they call the West Point of the South, which I think is bullshit. Because I'm a big VMI supporter. Being in Virginia, I have to be. But all these other guys was breaking rank, and these cadets, it's the only time that like students or college whatever cadets was put into, and they did it to seal up the Shenandoah Valley.
Yep.
And then they actually do. They said, these other units was looking at them like, why don't they spread out? Why don't they run? They wasn't taught to spread out. They wasn't taught to run. They was taught to move forward and hold the line.
Yeah.
And you can still go up there, and they got the whole battlefield. And
that was an interesting one. Because of all the weather and the rain.
Oh yeah.
The battlefield was so muddy that as the students were crossing, in formation across the battlefield, moving towards the Union lines, the mud was so sticky that it sucked their shoes off. So most of them were actually marching barefoot or sock-footed across the field.
That reminds me of the Battle of Agincourt.
Yeah.
That took place. What year was Agincourt? That was. I have to look it up actually now. It was like the 1200s, early 1200s.
Okay.
Might have been in the 1100s. But I read a great novelization of that. Cornwell, who writes his historical novels. And I read a great version of that. It's just the book's called Agincourt. And he was talking about how he was following the life of an archer. And he talked about how in that battle, the reason they won, the English won, 6,000 men against 30,000 French. They won because the French were all geared up for typical battle with their big horses and their armored horses and their knights.
Yep.
And they pretty much just the British had all these foot soldiers and archers, and they were all barefoot and running, and they were talking about the mud and sticking in the mud and all of this. It was crazy.
Rubber
By the
gloves.
All the
way,
equipment weighed them down. They get stuck in the mud. They couldn't get up, and they basically became easy pickings.
right.
Yep.
So
I've got Ryan Gale here. He's a friend of mine from years gone by, for as young as he looks. And he was part of our Highland Regiment with me, the reenacting. And he's written a few books.
Oh,
and he
speaking of
does.
books, shameless plug.
Jesus.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. And Ryan, do you happen to have one of your books sitting there with you?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my new book. It's called On His Majesty's
On His
Service,
Majesty's Service.
Okay.
British Infantry during the American Revolution.
How thick did that book end up being?
It's 2
Look at
inches thick.
Holy
It's
hell.
like an encyclopedia.
Jesus.
That's like a nosebleed reading book.
Yeah.
Ryan
it's
has
like
written
4
a couple.
pounds.
He had a big book that was illustrated of 18th century soldiers, British Army. And now he's written this book, and I have not read it yet. I want to have him on to talk
Shame
about
on you,
this.
Scotty.
Yeah.
It's brand new. It's brand new. I haven't
Well, it
read it yet.
includes histories of all 105 regiments that were in the British Army during the Revolution.
Wow.
You know, and not all of them fought in America.
Right.
What the American Revolution is, once the Spanish and French joined up, you had fighting in the Caribbean, in South America, like Honduras and Nicaragua. You had fighting in India and West Africa.
I got a question for Ryan.
Gibraltar.
That's
Did
crazy.
you cover the Battle of Kings Mountain in your book?
It does talk a little bit about it. Talks more about Patrick Ferguson than the battle itself.
Because I don't live too far from Sycamore Shoals, where they had got word, and the British said, "Hey, we're going to, burn your crops, kill off your livestock, basically, rape your women." And the Kingsmen was all drinking in a pub, and said, "Did you hear what that bastard said? We need to go do something about that." So they marched from Sycamore Shoals in Tennessee up through Virginia back into, the mountains of North Carolina on the battle, or they call it Kings Mountain now. And they just basically walked up there and called him a sleeping drunk. But I forget who the general was or the colonel that said, "God himself will not remove me from this mountain." And he's still there. They buried him on Kings Mountain.
Yeah, that's probably
Nice.
Ferguson.
Yeah.
He's the famous British officer who invented the Ferguson rifle, the breech loading rifle.
Oh,
The thing about the war in the South is it's considered almost a civil war between the loyalists and the Americans
And the,
Yeah.
and the rebellious, yes.
and it was brutal and ugly between the loyalists.
Well, that was, I thought, for all its inaccuracies, I loved the movie The Patriot. And because it portrayed that part of the revolution that we didn't hear a lot about. You don't think of the Deep South and the swamps and the.
Oh yeah, Swamp Fox and
Oh, yeah.
And of
all of
course, Benjamin Martin. It was an amalgam of characters, but there was actually characters like that.
yes.
What was it about that? I loved Tom Wilkerson, by the way, who just passed away. I loved his portrayal of Cornwallis in The Patriot. Now, Ryan, you were with us when we did the theater at the Mall of America, right?
Yep, I got pictures of that.
I'd like to see the pictures you have. We went into the cinema, the theaters at the Mall of America. And of course, we had permission granted ahead of time. And when The Patriot was first released into the theaters, what was this, 95, 96, somewhere right in there. And we were all dressed in all our red coats and our whole regalia. And we had a little, didn't we bring the Bell of Arms tent was set up in the lobby?
Yeah, we brought the colors too.
And the colors, the flags, and all of this. And we had about 20 of us, 15 to 20 of us, all dressed up, and we would mill about with our muskets. I mean, this tells you the day and age. It's 1995 or 96. We got our muskets and our bayonets and our swords, and we're milling about the in character in the lobby. And before each showing of the film that night, they brought up the house lights in the theater, and we would march down in column and stand across the whole front of the theater with our muskets at ready or at attention, and our officer, the captain, he'd grabbed something from the Stamp Act.
He proclaimed martial law, I think.
Declared martial law. And everybody in that theater this night would have to take a soldier home and billet them and, feed them and all of this. And you start getting boos in the audience. And he's reading the Stamp Act like this. And he looks when he hears the boos and he goes, "Fix bayonets." And we were all like, and we got the bayonets up, and so it was great. And then we marched out. And then we got to all sit in, of course, for the midnight show. And watch it. And I think we got free concessions and everything too for doing that. But that was a hell of a fun promotional event.
The funniest part of that whole movie was where he stole the dogs, and then he brought the dogs back. Then after he had left, he whistled for the dogs, and the dogs hauled ass and went back to
yeah.
For us, our regiment, I'm sure, Ryan, you remember this. The funniest part in the movie was a one-word line. And that's, we're all sitting there. We're all in our red coats. We've taken off our bonnets and, relaxed a little bit. And we're watching this movie. And remember, our group, the 42nd Highlanders, we reenacted the French and Indian War. So who was our enemies? It was the French. And so there's in that movie, The Patriot, where he meets the French commander. And we don't find out till a little later the animosity that was there, why the French hated him. But he's trying to talk to him. They mount their horses, and he says, "So, do you have any children or whatever?" And Frenchman just glares at him and turns his horse and rides away. And Gibson goes, "French." And we all just cracked up because we're fighting the French. We were all like, "French." Everybody's looking at us like, what are they laughing at? So, but Ryan, your book is, how would you encapsulate your book in a couple of sentences or a short paragraph? What would you say?
Well, it's really two parts. There's a lengthy introduction, which is kind of an overview of how the British Army was structured. It includes recruiting and training and a little bit on the weapons that they use and all that. And then the second half is just short regimental histories, going back from the founding of each regiment and then up to the Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Then it has a collection of artifacts, all the artifacts I could compile for each regiment that has markings for like regimental markings on it. And then there's information for each regiment on like the colonels and command officers, and then casualties and things like that. Some
nice.
Yeah.
My
information there.
My Scottish backsword, my basket hilted backsword right there. I've talked about this before. The basket is original to the they've dated it to, they think about the 1740s. The blade is all replica. The pommel is replica. But the basket is, I'd take it down and show you, but it's secured up there. Underneath where this, what would you, right under here, on this part of the sword, right where it meets, the basket meets the sword itself, there's some markings here. One is a number that is stamped into it, and the other is the what was that called, Ryan? The crown and the cipher.
Oh, that's the king's.
It's got Highway. It's got the crown with the GR.
This belongs to the king.
Yeah, the GR for Georgius Rex, and it's scratched into the underside, and it's aged. It's not modern scratching. You can tell the difference when you look at it. It's aged and pockmarked with the rest of the basket. So it's got an old. So that was an old regimental sword.
What's interesting about the Highland regiments, they raised about half a dozen Highland regiments during the war, and most of them were going to India and the Caribbean.
Yeah,
but because they were death traps, almost all but maybe one Highland regiment mutinied.
Yeah,
before being sent there, they thought they were going to be sold to the East India Company.
Yeah.
Hey, say Scotty, I just Facebook messaged you the link to where you can buy the book if you want to.
Oh, fantastic! Let's put it up. I want you all to see this. And if you're interested in military history, this is British Army. Let's see, where'd it go? There you are. I'm going to grab this, copy it. Oh, this is done through Manitou Free Traders Press.
Yep.
This is the same man that published The Sword and the Clay. So,
I was just this weekend or yesterday and the day before in New York City shooting a private collection of antique British muskets.
Oh, nice.
Nice. I have somewhere along the way lost the lock mechanism for my musket, for my Brown Bess. And I had put it I had taken it apart to show my dad something, and I had not put it back together when we moved into this house. And so I had it in a Ziploc bag, and I put it in a bare blonde wood pine box with a little half moon latch on it with a couple of other things. And it was in there. And that box went into a box of books with a bunch of books from my bookshelf when I was packing my office. Gone. I have not seen it since. So my lock mechanism for my Pedersoli 1762 Brown Bess replica
That's a big spear.
is gone. And we can't find it anywhere. I've been through every single box. At least I think I have. I can't imagine we'd have thrown that out anywhere. I just can't imagine what would have happened to it, but it's gone.
The good thing at being a Pedersoli is you could get a new lock.
Oh, sure. I looked into it not long ago. You know, you're looking at $1,500 to replace it. And
holy moly. I don't know. You
so-
might be able to do better than that.
might be able to.
There's lock
Get
makers
Ryan
out
on
there.
the trail.
Yeah, there's lock makers out there that, build for kits and things, like Silas is one of the big names, or Siler rather, is one of the big names of style of locks or types of locks. But if you get out there and you start looking up like flintlock kits and things like that, you can get them.
Solely might sell replacement locks for a couple $100.
Yeah. I had a beautiful, and Scotty, I think you saw pictures of it because I showed it to you when I got back from Afghanistan back in 2011. It was a company called Sitting Fox muzzleloaders, and they hand build, Pennsylvania lay valleys, French fusils, like all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it was
Joel Jameson had a fusel.
God, it was beautiful. It was a curly maple stock, had the beautiful tiger stripe on the forestock,
Nice.
and it was a 40. It's either a 40 or a 42-inch long Green Mountain barrel octagon in 45 caliber, and had a Siler lock on it. It was hand oiled. It was beautiful.
Nice.
I ended up having to let it go. Well, it was before I'd gotten the position that I'm in now.
I had to do that with a bunch of my
yeah, and it was it hurt having to give that one up, but
Back
gotta keep the
20
lights
years
on.
ago, I had 9 swords hanging on my wall. I've only got 3 or 4 and a couple from Uncle Dave now, but I had to do that. I had to liquidate my sword collection. This, by the way, is my Brown Bess, and it's a little. I haven't done much with it. I haven't taken care of it or polished up or kept it very clean. It just sits in the corner right now without the lock mechanism. But you can see I took the lock out of that, and but it's still got all the brass fittings and everything with it. I bought this back in 1998, and so I've got to look around and see if I can still find. One of these days, I'm going to go back through all the boxes again and just tear the whole storeroom apart and see. It's got to
twice
be
as much now.
somewhere. That box has got to be somewhere. Otherwise, somebody picked it up, or I did. I couldn't imagine I would have. A box must have been picked up and thrown out for some reason. But it had my books. It had stuff from my office in it. along with this wooden box about that big. It's kind of square almost, and it's just.
I used to have one of the Japanese made ones.
Ah, yeah.
I thought they're better quality with the stocks.
Really?
Cherry instead of walnut.
Oh, nice. This thing is. We used to say when we would drill that when you didn't have an ability to load this again in battle, it was a 9-pound club. And they'd invert them, and we did this in the drills. They had a drill for, how you did it orderly, but this is an incredibly long barrel on this, and I remember we did not Boonesboro, but the other Boone. Were you at that one, the Boone homestead, where we did a reenactment down there?
Boonesboro, wasn't it?
I don't think it was Borough. It was a different Boone, but we shot these things in mock battle, of course, for reenacting. We used live powder, but we didn't use ball. Obviously, we didn't want to kill anybody, and I remember having shot these things so much in formation that they became this steel barrel became too hot to handle. Mm-hmm. And we had to take the cuffs of our coats and wrap it around to be able to carry these. They got so blasted hot you could burn your hands on them.
You're supposed to pee down the barrel, Scotty.
What's that?
Yeah.
You're
Pee down the
barrel.
Say that again. I missed that.
Supposed to pee on the barrel.
Oh,
like you're cooling down a mortar tube.
Yeah. Everybody pee on it. Yeah. The funniest thing I saw in a reenactment was people thought it was a good idea to load dog food in it to hold the powder and the patch in.
Oh my!
And they burnt a lot of people up with dog food. Just a hard kernel of dog food was about a 45 caliber. And I thought,
I mean, that's horrible that somebody got hit at all by a projectile coming out during a reenactment, but at the same time,
at least it was dog food.
It was dog food, so you can't help but kind of laugh at that.
A couple of we found my old what was the name we had for the canvas? My haversack. We had these kind of off-white colored canvas haversacks with the big square bag with the 3 brass buttons on it, and their steel buttons, and the strap, and that would go, and you'd have your haversack but we also had our belly boxes, and I found an old belly box. One of my old belly boxes in a box. It's been in there, God knows, 10 years. And it still had live gunpowder rolled cartridges that we rolled by hand and put in the belly boxes. And I may have that sitting right here. Yes, I do.
Oh, I was going to ask Ryan real quick. Did you cover any of the guerrilla warfare tactics that the colonials used against the British?
Not so much. We do. The book talks a lot about the light infantry in the British Army. That's about as close to guerrilla tactics as they got.
These would be worn on the belt, and hence the belly box. If you flip that open, and it's full of cartridges, and these paper cartridges. And this right here, that's got a live ball down in the bottom, a lead ball, and then your gunpowder's in the top. And you would take this, they'd take them in battle, and they rip them open with their teeth and prime and shoot. When I got a bunch of Uncle Dave's stuff, this one was found in one of his boxes. So
that's why you had to have 2 teeth and 2 fingers to be in the
You had to have 2 teeth and 2 fingers to be in the Army. So, yeah. So I got a bunch of live ammo up here.
I want to do a book, Scotty, on all these funny reenacting stories we got.
Oh man, I think that would be fun. I know a good illustrator.
Names around.
So, well, there's his book. I've put the link in. You can click on that link or copy it and paste it. And it's just got Manitou Free Traders Press. Does that show the? Oh, we lost Jason.
Yeah.
Does that show? We're almost done here anyway. Does that show your book right on the front? No, it doesn't.
No, you got to go to the shop page.
So you just go to the shop page once you're there.
Yeah. I actually self-published this book, but Jack's letting us sell it on his website.
That's pretty cool. Here, I'm going to copy the direct link to the book right here.
And I got a couple other books on there too.
There you go. Yep, he's got a couple of other of his books on there. Which are the ones you've got up? You've got the one on lumberjacking on here. Shanty Boys, Lumbermen of the Upper Midwest. And he's got Lakers, the Evolution of the Great Lakes Freighters. And on that same website, there's actually a link to my book, The Sword and the Clay, as well. You
It's
click
right
on
on
that,
the
and
page
it
when I
takes
click
you over to
on it.
theswordandtheclay.com. So there you are. All right, guys. Even though there's Jason.
Yeah.
I was going to say, even though I lost Jason, we're going to go.
Don't know what happened with that one.
Yeah, it just happens. Ryan, thank you. I got to get you back on so we can talk in more detail about your book. Maybe this week, maybe next week. Let's see what your schedule's like.
Sure.
We might have to pre-record that show, folks, because of the difficulty we have broadcasting live conversations. So
I can just come over to your house. I live close enough.
Say again.
I'll just come over to your house.
Hey, that'd be fantastic. Just set you up right here. We'll do it. Right on. Okay. You'd have to bring your laptop because I'd probably put you on your laptop on a mic on the other side over here. So we're not both crowded back in here, you know. Hey, so Ryan, tell me. Fantastic. Thank you, Steph. Steph says it true. Another great show. And Ken Ballows, fun show. Thanks, Ken. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Ryan, thanks for coming on with no notice at all, just to talk about your book. We'll have you back on very soon.
All right, thanks for having me.
Sometime very soon, and we'll talk about your book in a lot greater detail. I think we'll draw a lot of military guys in. They're going to want to hear about this stuff. So we'll see you later, Ryan. All right. And sorry about that. I clicked on Ryan and he already clicked himself out. So your picture moved over and I ended up clicking on yours.
Oops.
So hey, you go blow some snow there, Steph. Robertson on Tuesdays, says Ken Ballows. That'll be this coming Tuesday. There is a Wicked Women tonight at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. And of course, that's 10 p.m. Great Britain time. And of course, it's 2 o'clock California time. So all of you, Michael, thanks for being here.
Sure.
I'll let you go. And Jason, good to have you, brother, as always.
As always.
And we will talk again very soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Everybody else, we'll see you all tomorrow night. And for Intrepid Radio, regularly scheduled show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week at 9 p.m. Central Standard. And so for all of you that are here, I want to thank you for being here, joining us on a Sunday. Live long and prosper.